come into the treasury. We are finalizing implementation of compliance improvement plans for large and medium taxpayers and high net worth individuals. We are working also on custom systems, to ensure that they are secure world, but also our other IT systems, whether in the integrated tax administration systems or goods and services and other forms of cash register ITAS, all of those are integrated. So we are doing integration, they speak to each other so that we optimize what is the value that are in doing proper data analytics from all sources of taxes. But also our revenue authority is integrating all automated systems, like I said, even in the form of payments of taxes through the Accountant General system, the national switch that the central bank has actually established, but also our national Social Security and National Insurance Trust to ensure interoperability of all our systems to reduce leakages in the taxes that are due from taxpayers. There are a lot of work also going on in establishing a tax force to ensure that we are able to do spot oversight of the operational, like systems audit of all tax efforts along many, many tax handles, particularly at customs, but also on excise because of the kind of technology we have put in place, whether it's NSOF on technologies that are telephony, but also track and trace on both petroleum, but also on excise duties at industries, but also at the port. So that task force will ensure that data that are collected, we put into place to make sure that our revenue authority is able to claw in the revenues that are due from those data that they have actually gleaned. Honorable ministers, central bank governors, our government is also pursuing innovative. I am very impressed by the report from Guinea on their effort that they are making in the mining sector. We are also trying to be innovative in improving our own revenues from major sources. In fact, in our country, what we noticed is that our mining sector, which account for 85% of our exports of goods and our exports resources, its contribution to our revenues that we collect from the sector is very negligible. Just to give you an example, the last 6 years we noted that $4 billion was exported from this sector. The amount that actually hits our treasury was only $187 million that accrued to the treasury, which is only 4.6% of the domestic revenue for that period. And to address the anomaly, what we have done as a government, we took a bold step for state participation directly in the mining sector. And what that means is we are trying to move away from the full royalty, not move away, but we are introducing another model. We've been using royalty model, which gives us only 3%, plus other taxes that we waive a lot. And that's one of the reasons we believe that we are not getting much from it, to what we call production sharing in the direct state participation in the mining sector. We set up a mineral development mining corporation, and we try and ensure that through that corporation, our treasury is protected. So we have what we call non-recourse treasury architecture by having a special purpose vehicle, 100% owned by the government, which is a mineral wealth fund. And that fund acquire assets and then enter joint ventures to negotiate for production sharing of the mining produce, mining that are produced and exported. And that resource is what we believe we'll be able to utilize to increase our flow of real resources that accrue to the government to be able to build reserve, fund our budget, and be able to do our ambitious infrastructure programs that we have. I believe some other countries are doing this in the oil sector. That is not happening with other minerals, whether they are bulk or precious. So we are challenging that model, and we believe that once that is effectively implemented, our country will be able to mobilize the relevant revenues that gives us the kind of economic sovereignty to be able to support the kind of program we have in mind under the WAMs. We are doing several other things on expenditures as well. Wage bill sustainability, try to be as astute as we can on our goods and services containing them, addressing our energy sector challenges that are real risk to the budget, but also capital spending efficiency. Now, we have recently also adopted a wheelbridge strategy, which the fund is supporting us on, and I think that should be able to help us to bring our wage bill within the limits that are, I think, are prudent for about 35% of GDP, of total revenue rather, which I think is a prudent level as opposed to what we have currently, which is 45% of revenue. Colleagues, debt is a problem in the region, and so in Sierra Leone, our debt to GDP ratio has been declining from 94% to 53.4% by 2023 after we rebased the GDP. However, debt service remain a challenge. 50% of our revenue spending are going towards debt, so that is taking away a lot from the resources available to spend on social and productive sector. So what we are doing is trying to ensure that we minimize debt distress by prioritizing grant financing and borrowing only concessionally, and trying to be as innovative as we are in mobilizing resources to fund our infrastructure needs. We have sustained our efforts with maintaining our program with the IMF, and we are trying to ensure that the ECF remain on track, but we are asking the fund as well to get access to the RSF, and negotiations are ongoing on this. The ECF program that we just concluded is going to be with us for the next 3 years up to 2027. We believe that will anchor us to be able to ensure that our fiscal program are actually addressed. We restore our debt sustainability. We try and manage our fiscal dominance and support the central bank in ensuring that our inflation and reserve levels are built up to the level that will be able to be within both the fund program, but give us the foundation to meet the convergence itself. So I must say that we remain committed to the ECOWAS Monetary Cooperation Program, and I would like to assure all that the present government will continue to do all on its part that our country ensures its effective performance and attainment of the convergence scale by improving our readiness for the launch of the single currency by 2027. And I wish to commend the technical committee for diligently working on the review of the report that have been prepared by the Secretariat, by the WAMS, and through the DG. I really want to thank you and your team for all that work that went into preparing quality papers for the meeting. I saw the reports. They are very good, and plus also all the analytical papers that have been written. I will wish to express my profound appreciation to the Honorable Minister of Finance of the Republic of Guinea, my brother, Morana Suma, who is not here today, the outgoing chair, but ably represented by my colleague, Dr. Conte, for steering the ship and affairs of the Council since August 2024. And I would like to commend all for the support given to Guinea during their tenure, and humbly request that the same is extended to Sierra Leone as we coordinate the affairs of the Council in the next 6 months. In conclusion, Honorable Ministers and distinguished governors, I believe the road ahead to monetary union remains a difficult but not insurmountable task for us. And I want to implore all of you to continue to embark on sound macroeconomic policies to strengthen our macro fundamentals in the region as we move closer to the deadline that has been established under the ECOWAS Monetary Union program and the ECO launch. During my tenure as chair of the Convergence Council, I will work closely with all my colleagues, Ministry of Finance and governors of the Central Bank, but also support from all our heads of state of the WAMS to ensure that we advance our common cause towards monetary integration. I look forward to the fruitful deliberation as we consider the recommendations to be presented by the Committee of Governors to both the governors and the Ministers of Finance and the Convergence Council itself. I look forward to productive discussion on the next session that will commence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So I go into my job right away. Thank you. So having provided a statement in acceptance of the responsibility to chair the WAMS Convergence Council of Ministers and Governor of the Central Banks of the West African Monetary Zone, We'll now move to the next item on the agenda, which is to adopt the agenda. We have a few items on the agenda, which is the presentation of the report of the 50th meeting of the Committee of Governors of Central Banks of the WAMS by the Chair, Committee of Governors. We'll have discussions after that, any other business, and we'll have a closing and lunch. May a member move that the agenda be adopted or any amendment to this agenda? The floor is open. Can the country move? I see the Gambia move that the agenda be adopted. Can we have a seconder, please? See Liberia second the motion. The agenda is adopted. We'll move to the next item on the agenda. Presentation of the report of the 50th meeting of the Committee of Governors of Central Banks of the WAMS by the Chairman, Committee of Governors. Honorable Governor, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister and Chairman, the Convergence Council. I present to you a summary of the report of the 50th meeting of the Committee of Governors of the Central Banks of the West African Monetary Zone, which was held in Freetown, Sierra Leone on February 13th, 2025. You have in your bundle the full report. I shall be presenting a summary, in fact, a truncated version of the summary so that we can expedite the process. The 50th meeting of the Committee of Governors of the Central Bank of the Member States of West African Monetary Zone was held on 13 February 2025 at the Freetown International Conference Center, Freetown, Sierra Leone. The objective of the meeting was to deliberate on the status of implementation of the West African Monetary Zone Work Program and activities under the Economic Community of West African States ECOWAS Single Currency Program. The report of the 56th meeting of the Technical Committee of WAMS formed the basis of those deliberations. All member states of the WAMS were represented in the meeting. The ECOWAS Commission, the West African Monetary Agency, the West African Institute for Financial and Economic Management, WIFM, West African Economic and Monetary Union, WAEMU, Banque Centrale des États l'Afrique de l'Ouest, BCAO, ECOWAS Bank for Investment and Development, EBID, and West African Bankers Association all participated in the meeting. A list of all the delegates is also attached in Annexure 1, Annexure A for your information. I shall now move to important highlights of the report. The chairman of the technical committee, the financial sector, Mr. Dingy, financial sector of the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Matthew Dingy, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Sierra Leone, presented the summary report of the 56th meeting of the TC. Observations of the technical committee. After the presentation of the 56th report of the technical committee by the chairman, honorable governors did the following. One, they emphasized the call for a reduction in the number of in-person WAMS statutory meetings to 1 per year and 1 on-site joint multilateral surveillance mission per year in view of rationalization of multiple meetings and greater application of technological platform for efficiency gains and to cut on cost. Second, applauded the recommendation of the TC for WAMI to develop a financial management framework that will trace, track, and report annual budget implementation. 3, underscored the need to avoid the repetition of recommendations of previous meetings by reporting on the status of implementation of those recommendations in subsequent meetings. 4, called for a review of the Golden Handshake exit package in view of its impact on the WAMI budget, and noted that intent was not to repeal the existing Golden Handshake exit package of WAMI approved by the Committee of Governors on 15 February 2021. However, there is a resolution that WAMI should go and work on this and report within the next couple of months. Fifth, welcome and applauded the nomination of Dr. Abdul Salam Sikuru Abidemi, Deputy Director, Monetary Policy Department, Central Bank of Nigeria, for the position of Director General of WAMI with effect from 24th February 2025. Six, acknowledged and appreciated the tradition and practice in the nomination and subsequent approval of a suitably qualified candidate for the position of Director General of WAMI, but expressed reservation about declaration of nominees at Committee of Governors meeting without prior consultation and notification of governors of other central banks of the member states. And as a guide to this discussion, we have tabled that there will be a virtual meeting of the Committee of Governors to try and establish formally the ground rules for this process going forward. We call the recommendation of the Committee of Governors at their 46th meeting held in Banjul, the Gambia, on February 9, relating to the process for the appointment of the erstwhile DG of WAMI, which required self-appraisal and preparation of semi-annual report as the basis for the consideration for reappointment, expressed the need to prepare a charter for the selection of suitable candidates for the position of Director General of WAMI in the interest of transparency and consensus in arriving at the decision for the appointment of the DG of WAMI. And indeed, 9, called for a virtual meeting of the Committee of Governors, central banks of the member states of WAMS as soon as possible for the determination of the criteria for selection and appointment of future DGs of WAMI, as I said earlier. Expressed preference for an approach by which 3 suitable candidates of the Nigerian nationals would be put forward by the Central Bank of Nigeria, from which the most suitable candidates will be selected by the Committee of Governors of the Central Banks, Member State of West Africa. These indeed will be things that will be determined in those virtual meetings and placed again in front of the Convergence Council for their concurrence and approval. Recommendations of the Committee of Governors. After the presentation by the chairperson of the TC, the Committee of Governors considered and recommended for approval and adoption. 1, adopt the Director General's progress report for the second half of 2024 as amended. There are also a few administrative issues that I wish to highlight. Like I said, the rest of the report really is in the record for your consideration. Administrative issues. Considered and recommended for approval the WAMI work program and budget for the year 2025 in the sum of United States dollars 5,343,000, representing an overall increase of 3.55% over that of 2024, to be financed by 1, contribution from member states in the sum of $5,081,836, representing a decrease of 0.04% member state contribution of the previous year, and of course an unaudited surplus in the sum of $261,000 from fiscal year 2024. Third, considered and recommended for approval the appointment of Dr. Abdul Salam Sikuru Abidemi, Deputy Director, Monetary Policy Department, Central Bank of Nigeria, for the position of Director General of WAMI for an initial period of 2 years with effect from 24th February 2025. Direct the TC to review the Golden Handshake exit package of WAMI and report same to the Committee of Governors as soon as possible. Internal Audit Committee recommended the adoption of the charter for the Internal Audit Committee of WAMI and directed WAMI to establish the Audit Committee. Strategy for the promotion of PAPS, that's the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System in the WAMS, recommended the adoption of the proposed strategy for the promotion of PAPS in the WAMS. Next, the 27th report on the activities of the College of Supervisors of the WAMS. Considered and recommended for adoption of the report and encourage member central banks to do the following. 1, develop strategies to ensure effective management of non-performing loans and concentration risk in the zone. 2, encourage the fiscal authority and private sector to come up with a framework to manage risk of exposure. And 3, issue outsourcing directive to ensure transparency in technical services agreement and mitigate third-party risk in all jurisdictions. Next, the 11th report of the activities of the College of Supervisors for non-bank financial institutions in the WAMS. Considered and recommended the adoption of the report of the CSN BFI, which is the College of Supervisors for non-bank financial institutions, and direct the college to provide periodic progress reports on implementation of the standards. Reports on the activities of insurance supervisors of the WAMS. Considered and recommended the adoption of the report of the College of Insurance Supervisors of the WAMS. These were the main highlights. There weren't any other business, Mr. Chairman. And in closing, we present this report to the Convergence Council for your consideration and approval. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stevens, Chair of the Committee of Governors, for a very succinct and clear presentation. Governors, honorable ministers, Convergence Council, you are invited to consider the report. There are clear recommendations, observations, and clear recommendations for the Council's decision, both on the reports that were presented, research papers and their observations, progress reports on our different architecture, but also administrative issues, matters related to audit and the respective entities, whether the PAPS, College of Supervisors, both for the WAMS, but also non-bank financial institutions, the insurance supervisors as well. The floor is open to countries for your comments, deliberations, and adoption of the recommendations of the Committee of Governors. The floor is open, please. Liberia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I bring you greetings from the Minister of Finance of Liberia, who is otherwise engaged. By introduction, I'm Anthony Myers, the Deputy Minister for Fiscal Affairs, representing my colleagues on the delegation. Much of what is presented in the report has already been addressed by earlier speakers, including the Honorable Vice President and the representative of the outgoing chairman. So let me start with the illustration made by